Hello, Libra. Welcome to Catalyst Energies and welcome to your astrology forecast. We are looking at the full moon in Leo, which is exact on February 16th, 2022, and the rest of the lunar cycle up into the March 2nd new moon in Pisces, right? So, welcome Libra Rising, Libra Moon, and Libra Sun. This report is for you. If you want to go back and look at your previous astrology forecast for the new moon in Aquarius, it will take you back. It will take you through the first 2 weeks up to the point that we're going to start this report. So that's going to be linked at the end of this video and on YouTube, and then it'll be in the description box below and all the other platforms. So you can always check that out as well, because I don't want to go too much into the full moon because I've really just covered it to death in all of the ways, and we've talked about it a lot. So if you are new and you don't really know the way that I've been characterizing this full moon in Leo as we're looking at, then you definitely want to listen to the new moon astrology forecast for your sign. So with that being said, let's get right into it so that it is not such a just a me rambling, because the thing is, I love astrology, and these narrative threads are endless. That's the beauty of the art, right? That is infinite. And so I have to learn some structure, which is very interesting because that's going to be a theme for you, Libra, in this particular reading. So this is the last time that these particular forecasts are going to be available freely. They're going to move to a subscriber only platform. So if you are interested, for $3 a month to support this work, to get these forecasts, and to be able to access a weekly Starseed meetup through Zoom, you can follow the link in the description box below for Subscribestar. It's at a point where we can auto draft now, so you can just sign up, $3 a month, and you get all of this content, and you support me in being able to continue to make it. So here we go. This is the report for you, Libra. So like I said, you check out that video. So let's just recap very quickly here that this is a grand square. Nobody gets out of this massive conflict. There are many points along this, right? And this is also a grand cross because there's a cross down the middle with these two oppositions. It's very karmic because of the nodes, and it's all starseed marking. So that the new moon report and the Pleiadian revival is very important, I think, to give more context to why all of this is important. Needless to say, Libra, it's in the areas of the 5th house and the 11th that the full moon in particular is going to highlight. And this whole area of 4th to 6th house is really the story for Libra right now, because there's a lot of action happening that is going to directly impact things that have to do with your relationships in general and what's generated out of those relationships. What the full moon is going to likely have been building towards for you, Libra, is if your authentic individual expression of yourself, which is the 5th house, right? And it's, the sun's not exactly very powerful in terms of establishing confidence and intensity, and really letting off a lot of energy like our sun does when we're closer to it, right, in terms of our orbit around it. But at least you've had the sun in the 5th house, which is a natural placement for it. So I think that these concepts of passion and joy and playfulness and taking social risks and romance and dating and excitement, right? Thrill is the 5th house, and it's really when you open and your expression is a rebirth. You are a vessel for the divine to move through you. That's a lot of the 5th house, and the sun is stars. It doesn't get any more powerful than a star as far as we know in this universe. And what is a black hole but a star that is folded in on itself because of gravity? And Saturn is a big part of this conversation in relation to that. So let's start unpacking this. So really for Libra, we're looking at the full moon is your authentic voice and all of those things I just explained, your expression through them. Is it truly are you seeing your capacity to emotionally and psychically and intuitively feel into a very overwhelming, exciting, but also very confusing, potential potentials at a social level. When you have the moon in these houses, 10th, 11th, and 12th, even the ninth house, I mean, all of the houses on the top of the chart, the moon being involved makes you more sensitive to the feels of everybody involved, not just yourself. And so I think Libra people are going to feel this incredible confusion and excitement and just really high intensity energy of Leo and being at Regulus, right? The heart of the lion, in the community, in the associations, the larger friend groups, the society in general, right? Is your expression showing you, what is it showing? What is it reflecting back to you emotionally about what you feel in this realm? And that's going to be, that's the question Libra, I think, is meant to have been working with. So the fifth house is not over. Certainly there's going to be Mercury's here now. It's going to meet Saturn at the new moon. And this sixth house is going to become a big part of the conversation moving forward, right? And this is the area of life where you start taking what you know from a mental perspective and you start using it in real life, right? You start building routines, habits, practices, you're training, you're purifying, you are disciplined, right? You are reconstituting yourself. You are healing. You not just having health, but healing. And it's usually some sort of health crisis that gets people to get their shit together. That's really the sixth house, in my opinion. So hidden enemies, attachments, right? Things that you haven't seen yet. This is the part of the growing cycle where the roots, the strong roots. This is important because the fourth house for you is your roots, Libra, right? And there's Venus, your ruler, there's Mars together, Pluto together, right? Your roots have to be strong in order for them to be able to do the work of gathering what it needs from the environment to grow the fruit, right? Because the fruit is what we offer when we come into seventh house in Libra. The fruit is us, right? And this is, Libra's kind of wheelhouse here. So leading up to this point and the new moon here, this is about what are you doing on the daily? What is your service work, right? Like what are your routines and habits and practices that you institute in real time on Earth here that actually allows you to condition yourself into the person that the highest version of yourself that you then enter into contract or relationship with. And this is, I do not envy Libra with Chiron being in the seventh house and will be here for years to come. So it's in the relationship, the form of the relationship itself that Libra people are being poked at, right? Their wounds are coming to the surface in their relationships, but it's really that practice that is so important for all of us. So Libra right now is addressing a lot of the root system, the intense growth when we are shining brightly and becoming a channel for divinity and life, not just us, but being a channel for it. And then what are you doing? What is the unglamorous, not very sexy, because glamour and sexy is fifth house. Sixth house is just like, okay, the routines and the war of art, right? Where you have to push through the barriers of, I don't want to do this because it doesn't fulfill this part anymore, but you know that it's actually the real work. So this whole area is the big part of the Libra conversation. And it's starting with this, I wouldn't say starting, but this full moon is a big part of the sexy, glamorous, thrill-seeking, playful, childlike, optimistic, and joyful and passionate part. So this is the full moon. So we're going to start moving beyond this, right? And first we're going to look at what happens when the moon comes into your first house, Libra, because that's going to have a direct impact on you. And it's going to have an impact on you in your relationships because we're going to have an opposition to Chiron. And so the moon in your first house, you're going to be very sensitive to you and the nature of you and how you feel about yourself and how sensitive you just are in your own personhood. But it's going to again, pull on and tug on, the wounds that you have when you're in relationship, right? And there's nothing wrong with having a healthy ego. And Libra, this is, I think, a really important message for you in particular that will be brought up as we come into the weekend, is that a healthy ego is what allows you to stand up when you need courage, right? A healthy ego gives you the courage to fight when it's not safe. And I'm not suggesting to get into a battle, but if you do, and to have integrity, okay? And so Libras will in their just natural tendency to want to balance this form of relationship, will be incredible shapeshifters, right? They know how to shift themselves or the situation, or they apply the knowledge of themselves, which you get in the sixth house, to the situation in order to achieve that. And so every time you're doing that, like you're getting, there are certain aspects like this where the wounding, where your ego has not been healthy in a situation, in either being too passive or being often gaslit for trying to have to have a voice, but also to have a sense of subjective self. Or you may find that in order to avoid the pain that has come from an earlier situation in this area, that you are being the wounded healer, right? You are bypassing your own healing in order and using yourself basically to help other people heal. And so there is a bottleneck. So a little bit of confusion in terms over the weekend, Libra, that's going to, I think, be brought out with this opposition. And so then you have Saturn in your fifth house, which is either a black hole or is a very stable and a force that gives you structure and stamina when it comes to really expressing yourself, right? That there is no getting around it. So it can really, again, it can be very depressing and a lot of inertia in terms of getting yourself, to really shine and have confidence. It can be very oppressive in this way, but also very stabilizing. And in this case, I think it may actually work in Libra's favor, although it really depends on if you, this Sabian symbol, when these two are in direct trine with each other on the 19th, which is Saturday, right? We're going to see that Saturn and the Libra moon. And keep in mind that Saturn has a very Libran quality to it. Libra is the scales of justice. It is the knowledge of perfect form of any kind of contract, right? And this is what the legal system is based on. For instance, Saturn is the judge, right? So when you have this moon in Libra and it's about feeling you being sensitive, Libra, feeling into your inner self, and how you feel about yourself, your persona, this is on very early in the morning on Sunday, the 20th. What you're going to find here, Libra, is Saturn is like an anchor into your voice, as aspects of your own persona need to be readjusted or just excised from your persona. And I feel like that, again, this will come up with the opposition to Chiron. And then you have Saturn in your fifth house that can either be a total black hole so that you're not actually even dealing with yourself or these aspects of your identity that need to be excised, or it's anchoring you. It's giving you support and confidence and provision in some way so that you don't do something stupid. And you are looking at this situation and feeling it with a sense of stability. This is very stabilizing for the emotions and the feels when there's a trine with Saturn and they're in air signs and there's a connection between Saturn and Libra. So I think this will be very helpful when this opposition, with Chiron in your seventh house may give you some relationship upset on Saturday. So when we come into the week, we're really looking now at the area of the third quarter moon, right? Because the full moon and the new moon get a lot of attention, but you know what is like these third quarter moons are these third quarter moons are really the thorn in the side. They're really where they seem to me, at least, to be where the real work happens. It's just at the new and full moon. It's like, in beginning and culmination, right? And so it's in those square moments on the way up and the way down that we really feel the, I would say, the tension, how we feel about it versus what we're doing about it, or how we're expressing that. And it's often the shining of the sun that is reflecting back to us a not full picture with these square moons. So the tendency, Libra, so you have a moon in Sag, we get a lot of strength from a moon in Sagittarius, a lot of inner strength, right? The meaning of our relationships and the understanding and wisdom that comes with Sagittarius, because you see the big picture, is going to be something that you really will gather a lot of emotional strength from, especially what's going on with the moon in Libra. And then also, of course, it's going to be going through Scorpio and meeting the South Node. And so this Pleiadian thing will happen as well. But it's really this area, Libra, where the tendency will be to, sink back into a sense of strength in your immediate environment by working together as a group, right? It's the action of playing the game of and working as a team in Sagittarius that I feel like that you will... there's going to be a lot of very sensitive observation, but I also feel like a looking towards or being very sensitive to your immediate environment and looking towards those relationships to work together with them. That you're going to want to kind of sink back into. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the sun is going to challenge that now in the 6th house, because this is about what you know, right? These are concepts and learning and communication, whereas the 6th house is actually doing things, right? Like actual actions, material nuts and bolts. And this is where a lot of the expression is going to be, put towards. It's a very strong spiritual sustainment by giving of yourself to your work or to your process of purification and astral hygiene. So what you know and what's going on, at least in a mental realm, and you're feeling into it, is going to be challenged. And when we're talking about the 6th house, we also have Neptune, because Mars first and then Venus, your ruler, both going to sextile Neptune. And so the 4th house, this area where a lot of roots have had to be cut back, cut off. Pluto has just been destroying everything in order to make way for transformation in, your inner life, your personal life, your marriage, your home and family, right? The place where you belong and your bonds are strong, right? Something has had to go for a while, and it's really Venus and Mars that realize it. They are attracted to each other like a magnet. It releases this energy, and you're able to wipe this clean. And that's at the full moon. In your most intimate relationships and your inner life, it's not about the relationship, it's about how you feel about yourself because of the containment of your family or your inner life. It's your root system. Now each of these in turn are going to sextile Neptune. There's going to be a balancing of accounts. It's not going to just be left void. There's going to be some sort of recompense in this area that's going to really activate what could have been a lot of passivity in terms of your daily activities and your practices and your routines and your service-oriented work is going to, I feel like, give some energy back to this. It's so easy to become completely dissolved here with the Neptune in the 6th that it's going to be this balancing account. Something from this area will... It's like giving back and kind of breathing life back into, or going into, there's more matter coming into, or more solidity coming into, in some ways, a very amorphous and fluid space that's going to help you start reconstituting yourself instead of just being subject to the ebb and flow of the collective consciousness in your daily life, right? This can really have you feel like completely not on this planet. But now that the Sun and Jupiter are here, I think there's going to be a real tendency to kind of maybe find a little bit of escapism a little bit, just a little, right? And to find your emotional security in this realm where it's in your mind, right? To kind of escape in your mind a little bit, and or in something that is like very contained. This is going to be a different story. So it's something, again, in the feels, Libra. It's not going to be something that you can necessarily mentally or intellectually resolve. It's going to come into the feels, which I think is going to be a little bit difficult considering that Libra is an air sign. But Venus is your ruler, so take her cues in terms of meeting up with Mars, who rules your seventh house, right? Giving you some sense of confidence of who you are, so you're not like constantly pulled into some old script of who you should be in these relationships. But this is really going to help this balancing of accounts in your family, right? In your home life, in your marriage, in your inner personal life, in order to give you a sense of what you are actually here to, bringing this Piscean, compassionate, forgiving, unconditionally loving aspect into your daily life, right? And however that expresses itself. And you have Mercury here that is also about to come out of its shadow in your fifth house and sextile Chiron. So here is a moment of, here's a moment too of I would say becoming aware of who, becoming still and aware and allowing some sort of inspiration to come in that can help put a new spin on this, or to allow for the ego in this way, the personal identity in your relationships to have, to be inspired. And again, it's going to come through something this is very literary with Mercury in the fifth house, especially in Aquarius. It's going to be even more like, you're like computing, massive amounts of data and expressing it, right? And that's going to, again, be part of like healing these wounds that pop up every time you're in a relationship. It has a lot to do with the strength and the confidence, and ultimately having a system in place that will allow you to then fully be yourself in your relationships, even while you are acknowledging the triggers that come up, because it's all about soul healing and growth. And so if you looked at your natal chart, you could, figure out like where how this all compares to you directly. And so then Mercury's in new territory, and we're going to go to the new moon, because what we're going to find here, number one, is that Mercury and Saturn are going to meet each other at this new moon, and the new moon is sextile Uranus, and it's a Sirian galactic degree, right? We're talking about a serious avatar type of symbol that is meant to be a source of inspiration for others. And when you're talking about an avatar type of symbol in Pisces, I mean, there's only one, right? It's Jesus. It's the Christ that is the avatar of the Piscean age. The martyr in some ways, taking on all of the sin of everybody and showing what it means to love unconditionally. And so this is being activated and initiated for the Libra person in their everyday service-oriented life, right? And because there's something here in the fifth house, Libra, that is going to be, remember the full moon, because when this new moon starts in early March, and you've asked and you've seen what it is about your authenticity and your individual voice that is able to hold or store the energy of the collective, you're going to tap into that now. You're going to tap into that with your mind and with a sense of, I don't want to say finality, but a sense of very grounded in reality thought process, right? It is in terms of this authentic voice and creative expression. You're going to need it because it's going to have to be used in some way to maybe put out a fire. And there's a lot of fire, but it's really about being indomitable, right? Like gathering every resource you can as a collective Aquarius and put the fire out. But it's just going to come from for all of us, it's going to be a very stern and like very grounded mental perspective, and really getting our minds like, okay, we have something we have to do, right? And then in your life of your everyday, your action, right? Mutable energy, mutable earth means it's malleable, it's shifting, but it also relates to the actual, physical reality. There is, a beginning of you expressing this particular, you being a symbol that will inspire and encourage other people as part of your service, as part of your work in the world, as part of your everyday life. And it's going to have an impact on the type of energy that's being generated. And in fact is going to be, I think that in a shifting landscape with Uranus and Taurus, it's going to allow for you to find the stillness amidst the constant and very rapid vibration and acceleration of our world, and in a very material way. So it's going to impact not just you, but you are going to have an impact on the quality of energy generated in your relationships as a result of this new moon, Libra. So I think we'll leave it there. That is plenty of information. If you are interested in tracking this over time, then you can just tune into my daily medicine transmissions. I'm on all, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey. I stream it live on YouTube, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we go into the astrology on a daily basis. We're always checking in about things and really assessing energetically and in our gut what is happening. So Libra, ultimately, trust your feels, right? And know that who you are authentically and individually as a sovereign being is in fact enough. It really is. And you will see where things need to be let go of within yourself about, you got to know the difference between what's yours and what's you picking up on the collective, because, that can be really disorienting if you don't know how to do that, or if that's even a possibility. And it absolutely is. Every time the moon is in the 10th, 11th, or 12th house, especially, even I would say 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th house, you're really tapping into the collective's energy as a whole, right? The signature as a whole, which is what we wanted, right? We wanted to become a fine-tuned instrument. That's part of the new moon report. And this is showing us, can we handle the amount of energy that our instrumentation is meant to be measuring, right? We got to make sure, and this is what the full moon is. And pay attention to that third quarter moon, the 23rd and 24th. It's going to be very challenging again. And what you see right in front of you, what you feel right in front of you, what you feel about ideas, right, and concepts, and how you work with them is going to, that's going to be directly connected to what you feel is the potential of all of these possibilities in the collective, right? So, man, Libra, like I said, I don't envy your position, but you are the, your role right now has a lot to do with being the best Libra you can be, and knowing the difference between yourself and other, and then being able to manage the form of your relationship without succumbing to a narrative that's not yours. And that's a big part of Chiron. There's things that we can't change, and but there's things that we can. Right. And sometimes with Chiron, we don't think we can change them. So we try to go around them rather than doing the difficult work of letting go of identities that we think are who we are. So Libra does not, you have some really tough work, and you have for a while, in terms of being the representative of how to be in relationship without being necessarily triggered by identities that aren't yours. So, Libra, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Everything you need is in the description box below. If you're not on my email list, you can do so by going to the website and signing up. And that's where I do make a lot of announcements. Of course, Telegram's my only social media, but then also all of the video platforms that you see below. So take care, guys. Have a very, you don't need to get too overwhelmed with the full moon. There's a real potential for that, but I would say, enjoy the ride, basically, because we're about to crest over to the next big drop on this ride. So buckle up, guys. Take care of yourself. Reach out if you need support, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye, Libra.